Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey, everybody. I am delighted to introduce today's guest, Jens Heitland. Jens is an entrepreneur, connector, innovation culture expert, business advisor, and currently making his mark as the CEO of Heitland Innovation, co-founder of several businesses such as AI Fortuna, Heitland Clothing, and the reverse mentorship platform XYZ Playground. Please join me in welcoming Jens Heitland, who is joining us from Germany. So Jens, thank you for being here today. And as you know, on Work from the Inside Out, we love talking to people about their careers and all the different parts of the journey from their early years onward, because we know that even at their earliest points in their lives, there are things that happened that were formative. And so take us back to some of those earlier years and tell us about yourself and how those might have developed into where you are today.
First, thank you for having me, Tammy. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Thank you.
So starting early on, I was growing up in a very, very, very small village, which I think was less than 500 people.
Ooh, that is small.
And I was like from the age of 1 to 5, and my father was the pastor. But then my father got the call in moving into a bigger city, getting a new job. And that was when literally the whole world started for me. That's also the time where I properly remember. Maybe that's the reason. So we moved and I got into school. And that's the city where I was living for the longest until now.
So what city was that?
The city is called Gütersloh, which I guess nobody on earth knows except a couple of people living around here. Now it's bigger. It's, bigger. It's not super big. It's 100,000.
Oh, okay. Well, compared to less than 500, that's a metropolis.
Yeah, it is. It was quite a big difference for us.
So you moved there when around the time that you started formal schooling, it sounds like.
Yes.
And so that was a big change and stayed there till you went to university, or did you go to university around that time as well in that area?
No, I didn't go to university at that time at all because Germany has several ways of education. I didn't do the formal education because I wasn't good enough in school. So I decided to, not drop out, because the formal school in Germany finishes with the 10th grade, and then you can decide going towards university or going into a practical education, which is then what I have chosen, because it was more, and my dad and my mother always said, you need to do something you like. It's not about, you might not end up with that. Even at that time, they have been that smart, which was quite good for us. So I have chosen to be an electrician. So learning it from the base on how you construct buildings from an electrician perspective, doing it on construction sites, practical, and learning the theory in school. So it was a double education where you go to school for a couple of weeks, then you go into the company for a couple of weeks, and always that's for 3.5 years. The cool part of that, and that was important for me at that time, you were getting paid for the work. So you literally you're employed in a company, and the company is paying for you for the work you do, but also paying for you to go to school and so on. It's quite a good setting. So I'm literally until today working since I'm 16.
Do you remember what it was like to make that choice at that time?
Yeah, it's always the silly things. So before, I think when I was in 8th grade, we have had a kind of a rebuild of our house. So a construction. And there have been like different companies doing the work, and one of them was an electrician company. And so I was just watching what these guys are doing and chatting a little bit with them. And from that time on, it was kind of always somehow, yeah, that's interesting. It's dangerous when you work with electricity. So that was kind of one of the drivers to say, yeah, it sounds awesome, and the people have been super friendly. They have taught me a little bit of, have looked how I can help them a little bit, and that was kind of, yeah, let's do it. And then I did a small. So when you're in 9th grade in Germany, then you do a small apprenticeship, which is just a couple of weeks. So you can choose in which direction you go. You can work in an office. You can work at any company. And I was working in a electrical company, like construction company. And that was literally where I tested how it is to work there.
It's fabulous.
And then it was decided for me, I will go into that direction.
So it really was a choice you got to make yourself, and it was something you really wanted. That's wonderful. That's great.
It was a blessing, but as well a blessing that I didn't know what that really means, working on construction sites and in winter when it's cold and so on.
You thought it was just going to be all of what you saw when they did the work on your house in 8th grade.
Exactly.
And that everybody is that nice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So 3.5 years you trained to be an electrician, and sounds like it must have gone pretty well for you. You stuck with it, right?
Yeah. So so you literally get an official degree afterwards. Mm-hmm. Specifically in this education, you get literally like a signature and an official proof that you're allowed to do this work, that you're allowed to work in an electrician company. That doesn't mean that you're allowed to do this on your own. That's an additional education I did a couple of years after.
Oh,
but it's literally you are allowed to officially work with electricity. Germany, everything is regulated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was part of that. And so then it's literally you can choose in which company you work. And there are more specialized companies in one or the other direction. But I have decided when I was 21, that I will stay in that company, which was the easiest choice for me. And they took me. That's another thing.
Right. I was going to say, it's not like you just say, let's see, what company am I going to work for? Okay, I'll choose them.
No, I decided to stay in that company. And in Germany, that's always the time when normally when you're getting 18, you choose to go to military or you do social services.
Oh.
But if you're doing this education, they can't take you out. So you're allowed to like move that time back, so that when you finish this education, then you go to military or into social service. And I decided to go into social service, which is one of the major milestones in my life.
So in this heavily regulated, very structured environment, it sounds like, or the view I have of the German culture, you still got some choices, which is great. So how old were you when you went into the social services?
I was
space?
21.
Okay.
So 21. Best time of the life. Having
Really?
money at that time, earning proper money, because if I would have gone to university, I would have zero money, and I was earning already 3.5 years, like not super big money, but more money than I needed, because I was still living with my parents at that time.
I see.
And it's plenty to own a car and do this fun stuff, going into clubs every weekend, this kind of things you do when you are young. And the cool thing is, even inside of the social services, you can decide what you do. So there are plenty of opportunities. You can work in an elderly home. You can work in a child's facility. You can work and in any social service that's providing this, like literally job opportunities, because you're getting paid for it.
Right.
And I said, I will do something completely crazy, which I mean, in at that time, crazy. I will go on a very, very lonely island with one of my best buddies, who is still my best buddy. And we go and work in a family facility home so it's a northern island in Germany. And on this island, there are different of these family facilities. So where it's literally people who are under social pressure, who can't afford going on vacation, on holidays, they get the opportunity from the state or from the church, whatever support they can get, to go once a year on a trip with their family. And then it's like more like a hostel. So it's like you have rooms with the whole family. You're sleeping in bunk beds and so on. But that was a place we have chosen to work in. And I was working in the facility management services, like cleaning the house and, of course, organizing the electrician things, cleaning the stairs, sweeping the floors, doing that things, and playing with the kids and doing other things with the guests. And my best buddy has chosen to work in the kitchen.
So I think it's funny that you call that crazy.
No, but it was literally, you need to think, it's like from that small city where we have been living on, nobody out of our environment went outside of that city of course, for vacation and so on. But for us, it was, you go there for 1 year and it's an island, no cars on that island. There are only 2 ferries per day. Sometimes 3, it's very, very peak season. And it's literally, you're not allowed to go home because you need to work six days a week, and it's not working in that system. So I was home once. But that was why it was for us. It was a little crazy.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And it's very, very, very lonely. So you need to imagine, it's like us 21-year-old guys, every weekend party, because we had fat money, we have fat cars, to a lonely place.
Yeah. Why did you and your best buddy choose that option?
I'm not really sure why. It's like the real why. For us, it was just exciting. So that's what I remember. So it was like, let's do something together. Then it's not that scary. And it's somehow cool to be out doing something completely different, being on the beach every day. Because the house where we lived in was literally directly at the beach. So it's like a minute and you're on the beach. Less than a minute from my room.
So when you made that choice, did you know it was going to be lonely?
Yeah. You
did.
But I wasn't aware of it, how lonely.
I see. Okay. Right. That makes sense. Yeah. No, it's just, it's a very unique part of your story, I think, because to hear that this is considered to be social services, that there's a place that families who otherwise couldn't afford to take a holiday have a place they can go on holiday that's provided. In the United States, there is no such thing at all. And it certainly wouldn't be considered a social service. And I love the fact that at least at the time, that was part of your culture, that it sounds like everybody should have a holiday at some point, which is kind of a healthy thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the idea that was something that was included, because I'm always saying here, I can't say we, but how often are we saying people get hired here into jobs in the US, certain jobs where they're giving you 2 weeks a year vacation, paid vacation, and that barely can cover even some major holidays. Yeah. And you're expected to work basically 50 weeks a year and still be expected to produce, high quality work, when in fact, in Europe, people get far more time off and I'm sure are producing as good, probably far better quality work. And so it just boggles my mind that companies here still think that giving someone 2 weeks vacation a year is a good idea.
Yeah, I can't understand it.
I don't understand it either, which is probably why I'm self-employed. So, this is very intriguing to me. I'd never heard about anything like this. So when you said a moment ago that this experience was life-changing for you.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot to that is the environment, which means a lot of nothing, which means a lot of water, a lot of sand, beach, but as well this loneliness formed me in a completely different way. So imagine you arrive there as a 20-year-old with your body, and you're coming from a party world, which was busy. You come, and then it's kind of like you run against the wall of nothing. And that was like, you don't realize it in the beginning, but it's after a couple of weeks, especially when it went into going from peak season summer, which was holiday season, and then going outside of that, was like, yeah, it's even less people now.
Oh, okay.
And then it was really for me, and that's I didn't realize it at that time. I got it more as an external feedback when we came back, that people says like, you have changed dramatically from how you think, how you articulate yourself. And I didn't realize it myself, because for me, it's just my life. For example, my old boss from that electrician company, and I started after that directly again at that electrician company, he said like, you went from a teenager to an adult on that island.
Yeah.
So that was his feedback, because he has seen tremendous changes for me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was more from a mindset and from valuing other things than just partying.
I see.
And that's still sticking with me. Not that I don't like a nice party. I still like it.
Yeah.
But it's more about like value of loneliness and value of, just imagine there was like an amazing hill where you can sit on a bench and you watch on the ocean. It's literally, I don't know how many 1,000 kilometers, nothing. And we have done that quite often, and just evening sitting there, not talking.
Yeah.
And when my body was working, I was going there alone.
Yeah.
Just sitting there and watching into the nothing.
Yeah.
And then imagine it's 21 years old. So today with almost 41, it's like, yeah, of course you can do that. It's like, it would be awesome. But with 21, now it's not what you do.
Yeah. Now it would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was one of the bigger moments, and as well career-wise, a big movement afterwards.
You mean in terms of the choices you made afterwards?
Yeah.
I'm curious, if you had not gone and done that particular social service, and you had stayed closer to home, have you ever thought about what would have become of you?
Yeah, there was a time where I was thinking about that, but not too much. But it would be hugely different. Yeah, hugely. My whole career would be different.
You think 100%. So? You think it? You think it would have changed the whole trajectory? That because I wonder about things like that, because you got to figure that who you are, that maybe you connected with that part of yourself just sooner, but that part of you would have come about maybe a little later or something. I don't know.
No, I think it's more what happened afterwards. So when I came back, I started again in that company.
Right.
And then it was a very, very downturn on the economy in Germany at that time.
Okay.
And in Germany, it's like this: when you work in a company and they kind of need to let people go, they need to. It's called like social lists. So they put everyone on a list, and they look into who is oldest, who has more family members, and so on. So I was always the youngest. I was able, due to a couple of special educations I did on the side, survive 2 rounds, but then I was literally fired. And now comes the fun part. I need not fun at that time, at least. I'm always going back to this island every summer for a specific weekend, which is a public holiday weekend with my buddies for over 20 years now. Yes, for over 20 years now. So one Friday, because we always left Friday lunchtime, one Friday, I was called into the office of the boss of that company. And he told me literally on that Friday, when I was about to leave to that island, that I was fired. So that's how incredible these connections are. And I think I got fired. I mean, I got fired because of the downturn of the industry.
Well, you were technically laid off, let's say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You weren't. I mean, because I think of fired, at least in American English, let's say. In other forms of English, it might be different.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. But still, I mean, how old was I? 24, 23? Yeah, 24, I think, at that time. So it was still like the world was breaking above me.
So it was that Friday.
Yeah. And the interesting part is, so I literally went to that island again, which was going into the silence, meeting with my buddies from that time, having an amazing time, and kind of saying, hey, I need to change something in how I approach the world from a work perspective, to say, I don't want to be dependent on others too much anymore. So I need to work in a different way, that I have the choice of what I'm going to do, because I was literally dropped into a black hole, because I've never considered to work somewhere else at that time.
So you thought prior to that, or prior to the economic downturn, you thought, this is my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, you saw your dad. Your dad had the same job his whole life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and right. that was like how it is, or how it was at that time with a lot of people.
Yeah,
and especially in that industry.
Yeah,
it has changed after that, but until then it was like, yeah, I'm working here for 20 years. I'm working here for 10, 15 years. That was normal.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting, because I always think of certain I think of a lot of professions as being somewhat volatile, especially if you're going to work for someone else or for some entity. But certain professions like electricians, plumbers, I almost think that they're always in demand. So it's like they will always have work. But in the context you're describing it, you're saying, I decided that day, it sounds like, I will no longer put myself in a position to be dependent on a company or on someone else for my livelihood, it sounds like.
Yeah. It's literally taking my luck into my own hands and not being dependent. That was, and I have had a job Monday when we came back. So it wasn't a problem. I was taking phone calls, talking to people on the weekend, and I've had a job. So there was no.
You had a job on Monday?
Yeah. So that was no problem, because some people from that business have left and built their own businesses. I was just talking to them. They said, yeah, of course you can join us. So
basically you continued working as an electrician.
Yeah.
As of that Monday.
Yeah. But what I've decided, I will start applying for other things.
What kinds of things?
So I was applying for service businesses who are not just doing electrician topics, like, for example, facility management companies. And I was sometimes taking really the luck, was like applying to big businesses who are looking for technicians, service technicians. And that's how it is. Sometimes the ones where you believe you will have no chance, they called me. So there was a company which was servicing the total portfolio of buildings and assets of the Deutsche Bank, which is like one of the biggest banks in Germany. And this guys called me and said, hey, we're looking for a technician who's doing services in what was it, 44 subsidiaries of the bank, and you will get a company car and all of this kind of things. And yeah, when can you start? Like, wow.
So I'm trying to understand this sort of declaration you made that weekend about never being dependent on anyone else again, right? And I know these things don't happen overnight. And by Monday, you were employed again. And then you started looking around for other things. What was your kind of vision? Did you have a strategy of how you were thinking about all of this? Because you said that was a real turning point.
Yes. So one thing was, because working on construction site is tough.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And I was 24. So I can manage that from a health perspective, but I was like, it's cold in winter. It's hard work. So it was sure for me that I don't want to do that my whole life.
Yeah.
Working on construction sites. And as long as you work in specific companies inside the electrical industry, that's what you're going to do. So for me, it was clear that I want to do other things. It wasn't giving me enough energy. So I was looking into, one thing was more responsibility, but I didn't think as responsibility like I would do today. It was more about, hey, how can I do something that's not as hard and that's more pushing me to the limits, learning things in a different environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking for businesses more into other directions than purely electricians. So that was my strategy.
I see. So you were thinking, I want to sort of broaden my experience and my skill set so that I'm not dependent on just this one lane of work, exactly, so to speak. But it wasn't necessarily that you were thinking at that moment, I have to be self-employed or something like that.
Never.
Oh, interesting.
Because one thing, and specifically at that time, and it's still valid today, we have a German saying that if you're self-employed, you're working yourself 24/7. It doesn't work properly in the translation, but in Germany, it sounds awesome because it literally flows like a great sentence. So and that's true. It's literally, now I am self-employed. I have my own business or businesses now.
Right.
I'm working always, not literally working, but if a customer is calling me, I'm there.
Right.
Because it's my business.
Right. It's definitely a different mindset, and it's always on your mind because you're always thinking, creating, and iterating, as they say.
Exactly.
And yet there is some pleasure in that. It feels different when it's yours, I would say, right? Yeah. So, but I'm understanding now the context in which you were kind of declaring your independence at that point. It's a different kind of independence. You were giving yourself yet another set of choices that you could make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's then working with that other company automatically opened up other opportunities, which I didn't follow at that time. But working in a larger company gives you bigger exposure, gives you as well a different track record than just working in one company. Working for the biggest client, which was Deutsche Bank.
Right.
Of course, it's like something, if you have that on your track record, that you have serviced 44 subsidiaries.
Right.
That's going to work afterwards. So that was enabling me again to other horizons.
Yeah. So how long did you stay with that particular role?
I think it was 4 years in total.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a couple of extra. So that's really when my real career started. I always say.
So you call it your real career. So what does that mean?
No, it's more from a, you could say until that time it was like I was on my way, but then I was going into a speedboat from that point on when it comes to career until today.
Okay, so take us on that ride.
One big topic of that was completely different leaders who are supporting you in different ways. Because it's a large corporation, they're trained in different ways than just in a small organization. They have been trained in supporting you in your development, personal and as well professional. Mm-hmm. And they have seen that there's kind of, I guess they have never told me, but potential leadership capabilities and so on. So I was getting other tasks on top of what I was doing.
I see.
Here a project, there a project, here's something, there's something. Then I was doing things in different ways than all others who are doing the same job in different other regions of the country have been doing. I was fairly successful. I got very, very positive feedback from the client. And all of that played kind of into my direction. And then I was asked to do a bigger project, stepping then slowly out of that more technician role into a more managing role, learning how to roll out the software inside of that environment, which was, of course, still technical knowledge, but it was more about how do we build a management software into the service contract, which we have fed.
Wow.
How do we kind of turn everything into digital, which was literally digitalization, going from paper into digital? How do you do the contract management with everything and so on? So I was leading that and was doing that as well, successful, and then got another opportunity in that business, being assistant of the country manager. And assistant at that time was not like secretary; it was more assistant of you're kind of the young gun who's doing the legwork, running around, but getting the support of the country manager and learning tremendously. So I got the chance doing that, working here and working in Berlin at that time. So it was a split role. And I was then learning again tremendously.
Yeah, I bet. Wow.
And next to that, I did my second education, which was it's called Master of Electrician, which is literally engineering. So it's not a 100% university study. It's a study which allows you to run businesses in Germany, and that was one part of that education, and was part-time, three days a week for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I can tell you that was tough.
That's a lot. I mean, when you say 3 days a week, were you literally in school 3 days a week, 3 full days?
No, evenings after
3
work.
evenings. Oh, I did that too.
So it was from 5 to 9, 3 days a week for 3 years.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. And then that doesn't include all the time you have to spend doing all the work.
No.
Ready for class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
no going to clubs on top of that.
No, it was on the weekends.
There was time for clubs?
Yeah.
Oh, you must be really smart. I couldn't do that.
No. It's just efficiency. No, but it was for me, that was very important milestone as well, because one thing is, like, I have never graduated. So everyone I was working with has had university degrees. People who were kind of reporting to me at that time had university degrees. Like, I was the lowest from a rank perspective. If you look into education, nobody was knowing that. So I was doing this education on the side. One thing is to prove myself. The other thing was being allowed to run a company in Germany, which was important for me. So the whole financial aspects, and then a special education, which is attached to that in Germany, where you're allowed to run like electrical or energy companies in Germany.
I see.
Which was never my goal. I just wanted to have it at that time.
So it was never your goal, but it sounds like through a progression of increased responsibility, which is something it sounds like you did want. You wanted increased responsibility, but it sounds like you didn't necessarily have your eyes on what those responsibilities necessarily would look like. You were just happy to kind of make progress and broaden your learning and your view of all that entailed. Am I getting that right?
Absolutely. I was more interested in the leadership aspect, which, like, how do you work with the people? Because that's something as well, a red thread throughout my life, is like, how do you build teams? How do you connect people from childhood, even on football clubs, on different things? Yeah. which I didn't realize at that time. Even later on, I didn't realize it until I got like professional coaching next to my leadership career. It's like,
Wow.
yeah, you have done that your whole life. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting that you put sort of connected those dots that's really what you've been most interested in. And it just so happens that you worked in certain industries doing that.
Then one of the biggest shifts after, if we say the island was one big milestone, which changed where I am today. The next part was I was asked to join a very, very, very big international company, which is a Swedish furniture company. And
gee, I wonder which one that is.
Yeah, I don't know. There are so many. So that was then another move for me as well, physically moving. So I was back in the hometown after I came from the island. I was staying around here where I'm right now. I'm back in that town.
You're back in your small town?
Yeah, that comes later in the story.
Ah, okay.
So was then moving 700 kilometers south, which is like in the south of Germany, starting inside of that new universe, being team leader of a team, and running literally one of the stores in different ways. So doing services in that store.
So this was a big milestone because you were really making a significant departure from the industry that you had been in to a very different industry, different type of business. And you said that you were asked to join a Swedish furniture company.
Yeah.
Did they recruit you? Were you invited? Or did you seek it out? Were you putting feelers out? I'm curious how that happened.
So that's an easy explanation, because one of the managers in the company where I was in was getting country manager in that Swedish company for a specific area. Okay. So he was kind of nurturing me a little bit before. It's like he has always kind of supported me. He was one of my mentors, you could call it. And he was asking me a couple of times, hey, that's something for you. We need someone with your drive. We need someone. So he was kind of working on me because I was on peak of my career. I was the assistant of the country manager. I was like, hey, I'm on top of my game. I don't need to do anything else anymore. I can retire in this position. I'm happy. Yeah. But one thing I was missing was I didn't have the leadership role. So I was assistant, but I was not the formal leader. The informal, yes. Like people listened to me because I was close to the boss, but they did was not that I'm officially the leader. And I wanted to have a real leadership role, something where like people are officially reporting to me and I'm learning that, going through all of this.
Right.
And that was for me the missing part. And then of course the international company is always something which is an interesting one.
Yeah. So there it was. You had this connection with somebody who you respected and who obviously thought very well of you. And you were invited to make that leap. And it sounds like it was just with the word ideal.
Yeah.
Fit.
Definitely. Specifically because of that company, they're supporting and nurturing leadership. If we talk about transitions, it was always about me delivering outstanding results through the people I was working with. It's like not me as a person, because in that culture, it was always about like you work with people if you're a leader or manager. And I have a difference of what a leader and what a manager is. But for me, it was if you're responsible for people, they need to accelerate. They need to be good. It's not about you.
Right.
And that's how I was making progress in that organization, because I was working with awesome teams and they have performed extraordinary. And then I always had kind of a mentor I was connected to in different parts of the organization, later on as well, globally, who kind of asked me, hey, wouldn't that be something interesting for you going into that position, doing something that's not what you can do, but it will stretch you to the next level? He was always saying, hey, these shoes are way too big for you, but you might be like fitting into them in the future, but you can walk with them.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what you did. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So, are we allowed to say what this Swedish furniture company was, or would you rather not say what it was?
No, of course, no problem. I just often don't say it because for me it's like, yeah, that's past.
Well, okay. Well,
no problem at all. Yeah, you want me to say it? No, it was.
Oh, you
IKEA.
Want me to say it, or you want to say it?
No, it was IKEA.
IKEA, yes.
Yes.
But it's an interesting story because of the way that you got involved with IKEA, and then the different parts of the business you got involved with too. Because I remember you describing to me that there were sort of two distinct parts of the business as well. Yeah. You have nothing but just amazing things to say about the culture and the kind of leadership and management culture that you experienced there and that you were able to nurture and grow there. So you were in this place 700 kilometers south of where you had been. You were a team leader and you were running one of their stores, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then what was the next place you went from there?
We went up to a city, back into real cities, which was Düsseldorf, which is like west, fairly west in Germany. And then I was regional manager, so I was responsible for 11 stores, working with the teams, doing literally the same, just multiplying it. It's like, how do we organize the knowledge exchange? Mm-hmm. And that was, again, the guy who asked me to join IKEA was still responsible for that. And he was saying, hey, you would be awesome doing that role. Let's see how you can do that. So I was officially employed by the headquarters, but I was kind of in the outskirts because of traveling time. So they've had the regional managers placed in different regions. So not sitting in the headquarters, but employed by the headquarters.
I see. And so what period of time are we talking about in terms of you starting with the company and then elevating to being a regional manager?
Yeah, it's quite quickly. So I was only 1.5 years in the store. Mm-hmm. And then I only was 1.5 years regional manager as well.
Wow. Is that typical? Is that typical there or?
Not at all.
No. So is that because you're just super cool or?
I have no idea.
Really?
No, one thing is, I think it's my drive. I wanted to do more. And I've seen, so it was like they opened Pandora's box, which like, hey, you have all the chances in this organization. It's not about what you did. It's more about what you do and how you do it. And I was enjoying the whole leadership development opportunities in that organization, which you don't have in smaller organizations.
Or lots of even other large organizations, quite frankly.
Yeah, true.
You know.
But, and the whole leadership development in that organization or in that company globally is built on a coaching leadership style.
Yes.
And that's something which is, and I truly believe in that.
Yes.
And that's which fits perfectly to my leadership style. And I learned it out and perfected it over time. You will never be perfect, but it got better and better and better in different environments. And that was really, the drive for me was always like, how can I impact more people? How can I do more? How can I contribute more? And of course, I mean, in that early days, it was still like, how can I be a big boss? And not because of the power. It was more about how can I be recognized to do progress? How can I be recognized to do things in this world? Mm-hmm. But the hierarchy for me at that time was still important. Today, and in the last, like, let's say 5 years, not at all anymore.
Right.
But it's easy to say if you're on top.
Well, still though, you're right. It is easy to say, but having spoken with you before, I get a very clear feeling like there's no ego there. It really is a more of a collective feeling. And so when you talk about a coaching leadership style, would you have characterized it back then in that way, or what were you would have?
Yeah, because that's what they train you straight away.
I see.
I was getting this coach when I was starting in that organization,
right.
And then the different leadership programs are built up that you literally learn how to do that.
I see. Okay, so it was part of their language. Yeah. And so 3 years, you've gone from one store, 11 stores. Where do you go from there?
So then I was asked to do a couple of bigger projects on country level. Still working. So then I was officially really reporting to the guy who was bringing me to IKEA. And then he left. But I kind of switched to his boss as a mentor, which was not too bad. He always had like difficult things to do. So he was throwing things onto my desk, and it worked out. So I was running a couple of projects, and as well tough things, like again doing a big IT rollout, which nobody wanted to do, which was very tough. And I've never really done a real IT rollout. And that was also my first connection to the global world, because I was representing Germany then inside of a global rollout without speaking a word English. So
you didn't speak English at that point?
No.
Wow. Okay.
I know of course I like school English, but if you need to remember, I left school with 16. So the proper English comes grade 11, 12, 13, where you really learn proper English.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right.
I mean, now it's different, but at that time it was like, if you are on construction sites, you don't need English.
No, I understand. I get that. Yeah. Yeah.
So the new mentor literally gave me a chance. He was saying, hey, you're representing Germany and you need to perform. And I want you to be prepared for it. You need to do an English course and figure out how you do that. And then I came back, looked for an English school, which was quite interesting for me. And I said, here, that's the English school. That's the cost. And then he said, okay, we cover it if you manage to manage the exams. If not, you cover it. That was the deal. That was literally one of the opportunities where I really doubled down on English. And I was literally every day an hour minimum for a year to be able to speak English in an okay way, to be able to speak to the global team. And that then accelerated me again, because if you take the whole like business where I was working in, 80% of them didn't speak proper English. So when there was someone coming from global into that department, I was always part of it, because I was at least a little bit of able to speak English, which then again accelerated me, because I was in front of top managers who were coming to visit. And that then brought me into the next level, which I was asked to lead a global project inside of the same company. So I was working officially employed in Germany, but working in a double role, like doing a project in Germany and doing a global project, which was a couple of years then, from 2012 to, I don't know, 2017. I was doing that part-time, you could say. But that was then working with the CEO of the total business, in between being exposed to that level.
Right.
And yeah, you can imagine that's like what you learn in that short amount of time is immense.
So were you still focused on the retail side of the business at that point?
Yeah, that was still retail.
Okay.
So it was a sustainability project. But then my mentor from that German organization moved to that shopping center organization.
Ah, okay.
And then I got the call when kind of the global project went into kind of, we're now handing over to the rest of the organization. It's not real project anymore. It's just kind of, we're now getting it integrated. I got the call, hey, what about you join the Russian organization, which was then the shopping center organization, and do leadership role in that organization. That was then my move instead of the big, large organization into the different business area.
Right.
But that moving to Russia, which was tremendous change.
Yes.
Growing up in Germany, never really been outside of Germany except vacation, then living 3 years in Moscow in Russia.
Right.
Immersing my wife and myself into the culture, learning how it is to lead in completely different ways.
Right.
Growing tremendously through that alone. And then got another opportunity inside of that organization to go into taking on top again another role, which then brought me on kind of into the visibility of the global CEO of that business, and then I was ending up in that organization doing that on a global level later on, moving to Sweden, taking over the role or responsibility of innovation on a global scale, looking into how do we build the future strategy, the setup globally, and so on.
Okay. And how long did you stay in Sweden for?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. And then I left.
Then you left. What made you decide to leave?
So there are a couple of things. One thing, what I was seeing is working in a top management position. Now I would call it top manager. It was not executive management, not directly reporting to the CEO in all senses, but I was having a direct line to him. It's like you're getting to be a politician. It's not about specifically on innovation topics. It's more about how do you navigate the waters? How do you take care that nobody's stabbing you into your back? And not that it's definitely not part of that company culture, but it's still you're getting to be politician more than you're doing fun stuff. And I was coming from an environment where it was about, hey, let's get things done. How do we apply innovative thinking straight away in the whole business, working with people? And then it was more about, okay, how can we sit in different boards and different like decision forums, and was less about, hey, how do we get things done?
Right.
But of course, everyone was asking to get things done. So it was more that stretch. And so that was one piece. And another piece, restructure of that organization was bringing a new manager. So I was reporting to a new manager, and that was from day one, I was sure it's not going to work.
Yeah.
100%. Nope, not going to work.
Right. It was time. Did you imagine that you would ever leave?
No. I was close to 12 years in that organization, and for me it is still the best company in the world. Like I think I mentioned it last time to you as well. I would have never thought that I will leave that company because it's amazing. Yeah. But for me, it was the right decision. Today, even 100% the right decision.
So when you decided, that it was time to go, did you have a vision of what you would do next?
Yeah. So for me, it was clear I want to build my own business, but I was knowing that I'm not ready. Because it's completely different worlds. Working in a large organization where you have literally everything taken care of, and yes, you may be a big manager or whatever, playing an important role. You have no idea how to run a business. And I've had the education as part, and like I mentioned, I was studying part-time next to all of that. Right. But I have had the financial education to do all of it, but that doesn't mean how to run a business. So I was going into consultancy as part of that, because I was clear that I need to learn how other businesses are working. I was working almost 12 years in one large organization, and you know how that business works. Right. But that's one of the most successful companies in the world. So it's easy to say, if you do things, then it's going to be the same. But then in the consultancy, it was, you work with companies, you work with design. And I was working with business design, where you look deeper into things, where I've seen different industries, how they work, how they not work. And then building up my business on the side, which is all about innovation topics. Right. And and connecting people, which is one of my strong things, building teams and how you do that in an innovation way or innovative way. And so that was literally what I did then in the consultancy where I was working.
Right.
Growing into that, really understanding how you build client relationships in different ways. Because if you're in IKEA, you're literally getting bombarded from people who want to work with you. If you're on the other side, you're one of them bombarding.
Right. Yeah.
But I've had no idea how to do that. And that was important for me to learn as well.
Yeah. Again, I think that's very insightful that you knew enough to know what you didn't know. And so you didn't just say, okay, I'm just going to start my own thing. Because a lot of people do that. They just say, I'll just start my own thing. And rather than do that, you planted yourself into a situation where you could continue to maintain some stability for yourself and your family. And at the same time, learn what you needed to learn. And you started your business on the side. Now, my understanding is today you are 100% on your own. Am I right?
Yes.
And so what does that look like?
Amazing. No, it's really cool. So the transition was not as easy because having all of that stability, and it was very, very fast change for me because it was already inside of the pandemic. So I was working with my business already. Yeah. And last year in 2020, in summer, my dad got very sick. So we lived in Denmark at that time in Copenhagen. My dad got very sick. And it was literally, I've seen my grandfather dying on cancer. My dad had cancer. And we decided, I was knowing it's not going to be long. And we have a now soon to be 4-year-old daughter, and she has really not lived with close to my parents. So what we decided is, hey, we have been living abroad for almost 7 years. It's now time to go back and support the family as much as possible. And that was kind of, I didn't want to do that jump straight away, but for me it was, I will do that switch right now because I can. And then I was leaving the consultancy and starting my own business. I mean, not starting, but kind of going 100% into it. And that's like now 1.5 years already into it.
So in terms of the kinds of things that you're doing today with your business, forming it, really going full time in the middle of the pandemic and trying to be with family and all of that, what kinds of things are you up to today? And what can our listeners be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I still keep the same pace like I did in my corporate career. So I've now what is like 4 or 5 businesses working in different ways. Well, one is a closing business, one is a coaching and consulting business, one is an experienced company, one is a platform business. So all of these things happened over the last 2 years or 2.5 years now. And it works. It's not all easy. And that's, of course, that's how it is if you're an entrepreneur. There are ups and downs. Consulting is not easy, or coaching, as I call it. Right. It's not easy. Innovation, everyone understands something different on innovation.
Right. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but you've had a lot of experience with it. And I would imagine that people who are looking in that direction would be gaining a lot by working with you and having the perspective that you can bring to that in terms of how they might be trying to expand or change their business, right?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things I can support companies with, having the track record, and as well have been in so many countries and have worked on a global level, but also local. So for me, it's all about how can you work strategically, but apply it today? Because I think that's often missing in a lot of organizations. How do you do strategic work, but do it that you can feel and touch it today with the teams and through the teams as well? And that's That's what I'm trying to bring into every gig I'm asked to help a company.
So bringing that coaching leadership perspective as well, it sounds like. Yeah. That's great. So I want to wrap up with the one question for you, and we will have everything in the show notes in terms of how people can reach you, your website, your LinkedIn, and all the things that you're up to, because you have a podcast. You have more than one podcast, actually. I know that you're doing a lot around mentoring as well. So we will make sure that people have all of that information. If you had to give someone one key piece of advice about how to make a transition or how to think about making a transition, is there one thing you might advise them to do?
I was about to say jump. but which is true. But for me, it's take the decision from your heart, not your brain.
Okay.
That's the biggest advice I can do, because I know when a decision is right for me from a heart perspective. My brain is just convincing me often. Either trying to convince me that's wrong or trying to convince me it's right. But my heart has already decided. Yeah. Great advice. Wonderful. Well, this has been absolutely delightful. I know that we could go on and on and on, but we can't. But Jens, thank you so much for your time today. I find your story captivating. I love it. And I want to thank you today. All of the links and important information of how you can find out more about Jens' work will be in the show notes. Thank you again for being here today. Thank you, Tammy. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Jens Heitland. It was so interesting to speak with him about his professional transitions. What is your key takeaway from our interview? If you are interested in any of the resources mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them on the blog page of my website at tammygulerloeb.com. Just look for episode 162. Are you thinking about what your next professional move is going to be? Or maybe you're feeling a little stuck. I encourage you to pick up my new book, Work from the Inside Out, Break Through 9 Common Obstacles to Design a Career That Fulfills You. It's available in print and digital ebook editions through my website, Amazon worldwide, Barnes & Noble, independent bookstores, or your local library. If you were inspired by this episode with Jens, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And please do subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd really appreciate your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find through my website at tammygulerloeb.com. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. I'd love to hear how it's going for you. Feel free to drop me a line. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.